welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. You know, I can't recall in 20 years of doing radio of ever being rushed like that doing an interview. They're going to catch David Copperfield tonight, and I had to run through like 40 questions in it felt like 5 minutes. But it was certainly a pleasure to have Scott Stapp, of course, the voice of Creed, in studio. He's got a new album coming out. He's actually coming to town doing a show in September. So that was a lot of fun. My thanks to Scott Stapp, and he will join us again. But isn't it amazing that, you know, he took a different path, right? When you think of, well, obviously, when you think of guys like Scott Weiland, guys like Chris Cornell, who suffered from substance abuse and drug issues their entire lives, and eventually it came to their demise.
He made a very valid point when he said that it's kind of the expectation, living that Jim Morrison, the Doors type of life. And then when you realize that really doesn't do anything but kind of leave you empty inside, to get deep and philosophical. Yeah. I mean, it kind of changes things for him. And he's very lucky. And he said he's lucky that he's still alive right now. And
I wanted to get into this with him deeper. And I think when he comes back to town in a few months, when we have more time, we'll be able to do this. But there was a point in his life where he thought the CIA was following him. He thought the government was following him. He thought people were literally following him.
I mean, I've seen A Beautiful Mind as well, and it changed my perspective for about a week.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like living like that with, you know, that bipolar disorder and the drug and substance abuse issues, and then going through the pressures of life, performing in front of 20, 30,000 people. I can't even fathom that.
And having to create more good music all the time.
Right.
You know what? Because they started so strong.
It's a lot of pressure.
With Higher. I mean, Higher was in 4 or 5 major movies. It was #1, I think, in the Billboard Top 100.
And you know how he wrote that?
Weeks.
He wrote that because he thought somebody was following him, and he had a dream of hiding from somebody that had a gun. I read a story about that. I mean, it's crazy.
I thought it was a Christian song.
No, definitely.
When I first heard, I thought Creed was a Christian band when I first heard.
100% not how he wrote that song. But anyway, again, thanks to Scott Stapp. If you missed the interview, check it out. We'll put it up online on our Vegas Take Twitter page later. I wanted to talk about this story because I think this is important, because this is a difficult subject, and it's about, of course, the shooting that took place at Stoneman Douglas High School. If you recall, the former Broward County Sheriff's Deputy, Scott Peterson. No, not the Scott Peterson that killed his wife and unborn child. Scott Peterson, the Sheriff's Deputy over there, that a lot of people were criticizing, in fact, calling him a coward because he didn't act. Do you remember this story, JD? The officer who did not act outside of the school. There's video surveillance of it. Again, a lot of people called him a coward. A lot of people said, you know, he could have saved a bunch of lives, and he was worried about his own life, so he didn't save the lives of the kids that were in the school, and maybe he could have disarmed the gunman. Well, now he's officially been charged with 11 counts, including felony child neglect charges.
Negligence?
Yes.
That makes sense.
He retired after the February 2018 massacre in Parkland, and if you recall, that left 17 people dead.
What was his job? His job was to protect the students of that particular school, and he obviously neglected to do his job.
Now, he claims in an interview that he didn't break any laws and he followed proper procedure, which is completely not true. But he also says that he wishes he would have acted differently. So which is it? It's very simple. If your kid is in a school and there is a gunman in there and you have armed security and you have an armed security guard outside the school that refuses to enter the school, knowing exactly what is going on, and make no mistake about it, this guy knew exactly what was going on in the school.
He did, but did this guy have military experience? Probably not. Now, I think this makes a great case for why there should be the military or military members doing this instead of just standard security guards and police officers, because they have much better insurance policies. One, if they do if they do die in the line of fire, their family is 100% taken care of. Two, that may not be the case with him.
Well, one parent said that she hopes that one parent who lost one of her children said that she hopes he rots in hell. The charges are concerning the police union. Boy, I don't know. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know where I stand on this thing. I'm not 100% sure. First of all, the guy should never be a cop again. Let's all just agree with that.
He won't be.
Okay, but going to jail for years on end, boy, I'm just not so sure about that. Did he break a law? No, he's charged with a bunch of different.
I don't think he broke a law. He's going to be destroyed in public, but in actual court, I'm not sure he's going to actually go to prison for an extended period of time.
He's been charged with a bunch of different things.
I do think that he will not be a cop anymore.
Let me pose this question to. Well, he's never going to be a cop anymore.
Right.
That's for sure. Let me pose this question to people out there that are listening. What do you think about this sheriff's deputy, Scott Peterson? Do you think he should go to jail? Do you think he should be charged with felonies? Do you think that's fair? This guy, now I'll tell you what I don't think he should get. That's his pension. He retired. He should not get his pension. It's a disgrace. But again, we're talking about getting your pension or going to jail. These are two completely different things. Yes, he should not get his pension. Yes, he should not be a police officer anymore.
What separates? Well, I mean, honestly, obviously, there's a major separation. But what really separates this from choosing choosing just not to be involved with, in the inner city of Chicago, where a lot of the gang violence takes place?
Well, that's true.
They just choose not to. They choose basically to let that
different circumstance.
It is different, but it's neglect.
To an extent. Let me open up the phone lines.
I think there's a lot of examples that you can kind of place similar to this one.
Let me open up the phone lines. Let me see what you guys think out there. Do you think that this sheriff's deputy at the Stoneman Douglas High School should go to jail? Do you think he committed a felony by not entering? You can call him a coward. Maybe you don't think he's a coward. What do you think about this? Do you think he deserves to go to jail? Open up the phone lines at 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the program. 257-5396. Do you think this former Broward County Sheriff's Deputy, Scott Peterson, who's been criticized beyond belief, maybe rightfully so, for how he responded when a gunman opened fire at Stoneman Douglas High School. Now he's officially been charged with 11 counts, including felony child neglect charges. He retired back in February 2018. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that he should go to jail? Do you think he's a coward? I'll tell you right now, I think he's a coward. I'm not sure if a coward should go to jail. Again, 257-5396, and let's start off with Troy. Troy, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hey, Troy.
Good. Yeah, I don't think the guy should go to jail. The guy did nothing illegal. Yeah, the guy's a coward. He should have fought for the children. But, hey, he didn't do anything illegal. He did nothing illegal.
All right. Well, I mean, that's fair enough. Look at as far as what I'm looking at, though, there's 11 counts of including felony child neglect charges. So 11 counts there. So, you could make the argument that maybe he did do something illegal. And the courts and a jury's probably going to decide yes or no.
Someone's going to seriously attempt to make an argument that he did do something illegal, clearly.
Yeah. I think Tony had too many cigarettes. He was a little hard to understand, but that's okay. 257.
Thanks for the call, Tony.
257-5396. The number to call again, 257-5396. Let's go to Dave. Dave, what's up?
Hey, how are you? Yeah, I think he should definitely lose his pension. Definitely never work as a police again. Felony charges, I don't know, but their job is to serve and protect.
See, that's an interesting point that you just brought up, Dave. Let me ask you something. That's a good point. Let's just say there's a home invasion. Somebody, God forbid, has your wife hostage or one of your children hostage, God forbid, right? And
Okay.
you call 911. You've barricaded yourself in a bathroom. You don't have any weapons. You know you have absolutely no chance if you walk out of there, and you're relying on police officers to
Absolutely.
right. So what would you do? What would you say, Dave, if there were two police officers outside the house? Those police officers knew exactly what was going on in there, and they didn't enter your house. What would you call them?
I would definitely call them a few choice words, but
Right.
we'll call coward
Yeah,
to be clean.
right.
I'm from the East Coast, so you got to mind my
That's okay.
my sarcasm once in a while. But I mean, the Vegas shooting, them guys waited an hour.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up, because it seemed to me, Dave, in the October 1 shooting, that they really didn't want some of those details to come out, and it was
Absolutely
long.
not. They couldn't, though. I mean, the town would go belly up if it was really bad.
There's no question that the time it took them to get into that room of Paddock was way too long.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Dave, I appreciate the call, my man. Good to hear from you.
Thanks, man. Have a
All
good
right.
one.
Thanks
Thank
for the call,
you.
Dave.
257-5396. Again, the number to call, 257-5396. Let's go to Roberto. Roberto, what's up?
How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I think it sets a bad precedent because, first of all, suppose it's a fireman that refused to go into a burning building.
Uh-huh.
And suppose that happens. I mean, what do you do then?
Well, I think you take an oath. If there's a burning look at 9/11. That's a perfect example, right? Look at all the firefighters that lost their lives. Now, take it. Obviously, they didn't think that the building was going to collapse, but after Building 1 collapsed, there are plenty of firemen in the other building that went in there and risked their lives and unfortunately lost their lives in the process. I believe personally, Roberto, and maybe you'll disagree with me, when you decide to become a police officer or a firefighter or an armed security guard, you're taking an oath to protect and serve. And I
agree with you.
Yeah, and there is no question in my mind, this guy, Scott Peterson, did not protect. And, could it have killed him if he walked into that school and got into a gun battle with that little bastard who killed all those kids? Absolutely, it could have cost him his life. But you know what else could have happened, Roberto? He could have saved those kids. He could have saved lives.
Would you take in orders on the radio? Like, who was talking to him while he was on the radio, though?
What do you mean? You're talking about the...
Did he have like a superior officer talking to him like, hey, do this, do that? Or
nobody told... It's a good question. As far as I know, nobody told him to go in. I think that was an obvious thing, but what they were giving him is information. So he knew that there was an active shooting situation. He absolutely 100% knew what was going on. I don't think somebody had to say enter the building or somebody had to say go in there. Whether somebody said that or not. Now, look, if somebody said do not enter, that would have been a different scenario, Roberto. But guess what? If somebody said that, he wouldn't be in the situation he's in now. Yeah. Thank you for the call.
Like I said, he should have went in.
Yeah.
He should have went in.
Absolutely. We're on the same page, Roberto. Thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Thank you. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. I believe our next caller is David. David, what's on your mind?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm retired from the law, and I did a lot of criminal defense work. And my question and points that I'd like to raise with you, and I'm not giving you a pro or con either way, is this man had a contract as a security guard.
Mm-hmm.
That contract called for him to do certain things, and the question is whether or not in that contract he had an obligation or duty to the kids to risk his own life, to put his life in absolute sure danger in comparison to the fact that he would die. He would deprive his own children of their father and his wife of her husband. So the question is, does his life become a mandatory obligation to submit to sure death? What is the obligation and the duty that one has in that regard?
But then if
I don't
that's
know what in terms of what his obligations have to be. It's a moral issue. Yes, he had a moral obligation. Contractually, he probably had a contractual obligation to enter the fray. Take a gang war. Does he have an obligation to enter into a gang war and get in between two different rival gangs that are shooting each other? Does he have an obligation to enter into
different
a burning
circumstance?
building?
That's a different circumstance. When you had two different gangs, well, hold on though. If you have two different gangs that are shooting at each other, you have criminals that are shooting at one another. That's not self-defense, and that's not a helpless child that's sitting in a school.
And if he didn't have that listed in his contract, then the argument should be that he definitely should have, or police officers or whoever is handling security at these schools from now on should have that obligation or that obligation in their contract.
Yep.
Also, the big question is what kind of insurance policy did he have if he did have a family?
Yeah, I don't know. But, John, here's another question that I would raise. He didn't even make an attempt to go in there. Let's just say hypothetically, John, he opens a door. He makes an attempt, or at the very least, he goes into a classroom of students that are hiding under desks and tries to comfort them. And he didn't do any of that stuff. It'd be one thing if he opened up a door and he got shot in the arm or the leg or something and he knew he had no chance. I'd be okay with that. But he made zero effort to go into that building. That was a large school. There were plenty of doors where he could have gotten in. He had all the keys to get in there. He could have gone in a classroom. He could have gone in a hallway, even if the shooter wasn't in that hallway. The problem I have, John, is David, is that he made absolutely no effort. That's my issue.
Well, my problem is this. They're accusing him of committing a crime. Your gentlemen have to define what crime he committed.
Well, he's been charged with 11 counts, including felony child neglect. They're saying it could be construed as felony child neglect. It's one of those situations, David, and by the way, I appreciate the call, where let's just say, and we've all been through this, I would imagine, right? You drive by a car accident. You might have witnessed a car accident. I witnessed a car accident at a young age, at 22. And I was in a horrible car accident with my family when I was 12 years old. We don't need to get into that. But I witnessed a head-on collision at the age of 22 where a woman crossed the center median and hit a gentleman. And I did everything I could. Did I keep driving? No. If I kept driving, I could have been charged with neglect, and I probably would have deserved it. I did everything I could to help the situation. First thing I did was I called 911. The second thing I did is I didn't move anybody, but I tried to comfort the gentleman that was still conscious. The woman was not conscious. The man was. He was in a lot of pain. This was a very serious accident. I stopped. I tried to comfort him. I couldn't move him, and I wouldn't have even tried to move him because I probably would have hurt him. I waited till the paramedics got there, but I did everything I could to help in that situation. You understand what I'm saying? If I didn't, that could be construed as neglect. If I kept driving. If you see a young child, God forbid, get hit by a car in a hit and run, for example, and you're the only adult there that can help that child, if you don't call 911 and you keep driving and you go about your day, absolutely, I want your ass in jail because that's neglect. And I believe to a circumstance, that's exactly what Scott Peterson did. Let's go to John. The number to call, 257-5396. John, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. What's on your mind? What do you think about this?
Well, I agree with you. Unfortunately, as of 05, I'm sure you're, well, maybe you're not, in Castle Rock v. Gonzalez, the Supreme Court ruled that the police do not have a constitutional duty to protect, people from harm. So he's going to skate. Maybe he'll get nailed on the perjury because you can't. It's a process crime. You can't lie under oath, but he's going to skate.
Okay, but what's the difference? Okay, John, and you might be right. I don't know. But my question to you is, what's the difference between...
I think legally he's fine.
What's the difference between what I just talked about? You see a kid get hit by a car, and there's nobody there but you to help, and you keep driving. What's the difference between me doing that and what Scott Peterson did?
I do not disagree with you.
Yeah.
I think the guy is a scumbag, and unfortunately, the law is going to protect him, from total responsibility. I just hope they get him on a technicalities.
I'll tell you, John. John, there's a lot of...
absolutely right.
John, there's a lot of... You might be right as well, but you know what, John? There's a lot of people that hate this guy in that town. First of all, is he going to be able to get a fair trial? And secondly, I think you're right. They might try to get him on something that maybe you or I are unaware of. I actually think he's going to be charged with something. John, can you imagine the anger in that town if he gets off on all charges and he walks free? And he keeps his pension. This guy's going to be a marked man.
I read today they said they fired him. Now, that's after the fact because he retired.
Still gets his pension. He still gets his pension as far as I know. Right now, he's still...
that's wrong.
Yeah, it's 100% wrong. Now, here's my understanding, John. If he gets charged with a crime and he's found guilty, he does not get his pension.
What about the money he's already gotten?
Well, he might have to pay that back. He might have to pay that back. And when you think of, and you know how much that guy's getting paid? 6 figures a year. Can you believe that?
That's ridiculous.
6 figures a year to walk around with a pistol and watch a bunch of kids, and then all of a sudden you finally have, I wish it didn't happen, but you have a very horrible, serious situation, and what does he do? He fails. He's a coward.
You know what really ticks me off? When the other cops got there, he ordered them to stay 500 feet away. So,
I remember that. And you know what? 17 people lost their lives. And It wasn't all in 2 or 3 minutes. We've learned that it was over the course of 10 to 15 minutes. And imagine what would have happened. Imagine, and this is a hypothetical, I understand, but if Peterson went in there and then those other officers went in there, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think 17 people lose their lives. I really don't think that.
I 100% agree, and I'll tell you what, I was a cop in the Air Force, and if it were me, armed or unarmed, like, when I was in plain clothes, off duty, because in the Air Force you're not allowed to carry a gun when you're off duty like normal cops.
Right.
I still would have went in there. I would at least try to create a diversion, anything to save lives.
Anything, John, and you would have been a hero, and I would have called you a hero for doing that. Look, here's
a coward.
You never know how you're going to act in that type of situation. But here's how I think I would have acted without a gun. I would have tried
something, anything.
Yeah, find some sort of door, or especially if you have a weapon, right? Find some sort of door or some way to enter. Figure out where. I'm not saying run at the shooter without a gun. Okay, that's just stupid. But go into a classroom, try to comfort the students, especially if you're an armed security guard. Do something. Get in there. Do something to help. He did nothing. He's a coward.
He is a coward.
Yeah.
He's a shameful coward, and so is the guy that was his boss. Thank God they finally got rid of him.
Yeah, the idiot that
What's his name, Israel?
Yeah, Israel. Yeah, he did all those TV appearances. Then luckily he lost his job. Hey, John, it's good to hear from you, my man. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Well, great show. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks a lot, John.
Appreciate it. 257-5396 is the number to call again. 702-257-5396. JD, I'm telling you right now, he's gonna be found guilty of something. Can you imagine the anger in that community? If he gets his pension and he's not found guilty of anything? I mean, that's insane. There is no chance, in my opinion, no chance that this guy gets off scot-free. No chance. No pun intended there. By the way, what a name this guy has.
He has the worst name ever.
Scott Peterson.
He's
Could you ask for? I mean, what's worse than that? Adolf Hitler.
It's up there.
What a horrible.
It's probably top 20 worst names.
The guy who kills his wife and unborn baby. Yeah. And now we have another Scott Peterson who's labeled as a coward, who I think is going to get some jail time. It's not going to be a lot.
They're going to really have to search for it, but I do think you're right. I think they're going to spend whatever money they have to spend, and spend as much time as they have to spend to find something that can put this guy behind bars for at least a little bit of time.
Yeah,
especially if he gets that pension.
I certainly hope so. It's a horrible situation. And by the way, speaking of this horrific massacre, I have been speaking with Mr. Gutenberg, who lost his daughter in this school shooting, and he's agreed to come on our show. He'll be on in a few weeks in June, late June, to talk about this. You know, we talk about gun violence all the time. It seems like we have another horrific tragedy every single week, and now we're learning a little bit more about this nut job who went into Virginia, went into this municipal building, and apparently he gave his 2-week notice that morning. He was in good standing. Nobody understands why he went nuts. Nobody understands it. He seemed to be a normal person who was at good standing at his job, but he gives his 2-week notice that morning, and then he goes in there with several guns and artillery and kills a bunch of innocent people. I think he killed 12 people. It is unbelievable. I don't know how you stop something like that from happening. I really don't. I have no idea. I don't have all the answers. I just don't know. I don't know, especially in this situation where it appears like he didn't have mental illness. It's crazy. Let's take another call. Let's go to David. David, what's up? David, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, what's on your mind, David? Go ahead.
Hey, David.
Hey, I was just calling in, and one aspect of this that isn't being talked about is, and you guys have touched on it, which is the guy contracted or is he at will?
Mm-hmm.
And that's some of the problems with foisting all of the requirements on at-will employees. The only thing that you don't walk away with is your financial gain. And so I think that's a key aspect along with the morality piece that you guys are talking about. But when they put a $100,000 guard to protect the students,
mm-hmm.
was this an at-will employee that could say, you know, I've had enough,
right,
and walk away? I just think that's an important piece for people to consider, because there's a lot of folks out there that get told by businesses and commercial entities that they're responsible for the world. But when you sign your letter of employment, they make it very clear that you're an at-will of employee, and they can change their mind about you, and you can change their mind, your mind about them, and walk away.
You know, this happens all the time. When gas stations get robbed, someone walks up, puts a gun in their face, and they hand over the money immediately, because what's it to them? They're making X amount of dollars an hour. They don't care.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree. David, good to hear from you. Thank you for the call.
Great call,
appreciate
David.
it. Well, we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. I am very, very interested. The sad part about it is that there are no winners here.
Well, I think the only silver lining here is that eventually there will be a rule in the United States that requires these schools to have someone with military experience in the line of duty who can defend themselves and other people protecting these students.
Perhaps, but I'm not sure this is even about military experience. It's about doing your job and protecting the kids that were in harm's way.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Look, this guy was making over six figures a year, so spare me with he wasn't making any money. At times, it could be a dangerous job. If you sign up to be a police officer, God love you. You know what you're signing up for. You're dealing with scum of the earth 24/7. That is the way it works. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, you are not going to believe where they shipped Paul Manafort. You are not going to believe where Paul Manafort is sitting right now. We'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to the Vegas Take, the all-new 101.5 FM 720 AM KDWN. FM 720 AM KDWN. FM 720 AM KDWN. FM 7